All right. Hello, YouTube. Skip the Wolf here, and I thought this would be a pretty good idea for a video because we are halfway into 2021, and I wanted to showcase all of the albums that I own from this year. Now, I'm going to grab the CDs. I have about 17 albums here. I'm just gonna organize them by artist name real quick. So, hold on a second. It's gonna be something here. I'm just organizing them like, yeah, 2021 has been a decent enough year so far for music. Not amazing or anything, but like it's a decent year. It's definitely good. I'm just organizing, like I said. So forgive me if I'm looking over here too much. I'm just organizing them because I realized I forgot to do that. Originally was going to do it by release date, but then I figured out that doing it by doing it the way I'm doing it now is a better idea. So we are just about there. I'm just. I need one more, and that'll be it. So, yep. There we go. Okay, now let's get started with this. Finally. All right, and some of these you might have seen in both of my CD collection update video, the pickups, because like I recently picked up some albums because it was my birthday. So let's begin with the first one, and the first one for this video will be AFI's Bodies album. I've shown this now 3 times, and it's a good album. Like I said, it's not an album that I go to constantly, but it's good. You know, the song Twisted Tongues I think is pretty good. Escape from Los Angeles, that's a good song. Tied to a Tree, you know, those are good songs. I would want to get more AFI CDs, and I'm not going to really show much of the packaging other than the cases. I'm just going to talk about the albums. I don't know if this would be on my year-end list, but we'll see. AFI with Bodies. Next up, we have Architects for Those That Wish to Exist. One of the first albums that I got this year because it came out in February, and it has not aged greatly, but it's good for what it is. It's not Architect's best in my opinion. There's still some good stuff on here, of course. Animals and Black Lungs, those two are pretty good. Discourse is Dead and Permanence. The guest vocalists on the album are good. Royal Blood, Biffy Clyro, and Parkway Drive are the bands, and they're pretty good with what they do on this album. And yeah, this is getting a lot of attention, and it's good because Architects is one of the better bands in metalcore. They are one of my favorite in modern metalcore, even though this is in the middle of the I would say this is probably their 5th best, in my opinion, behind All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us, Holy Hell, Hollow Crown, and Lost Together, Lost Forever. Those albums. This is still a pretty good album though. So there we go. That is For Those That Wish to Exist. Next up we have Chevelle's Neartius. Nothing is real, and this is a simulation. And this is definitely a top 5 contender so far this year. Might not stay in the top 5, but it'll probably be top 10 by the year's end. Definitely good. Got this at Target on opening day. You can see that video, and this was one of the first albums I listened to on stream. Definitely good stuff on here. Mars Simula, So Long Mother Earth, Peach, Remember When, Self Destructor. There's tons of good stuff in here. Even the interlude tracks are pretty good. Like, very intriguing concept album from about Mars and stuff. Different for Chevelle, one of my favorite bands of all time. So, and this cover artwork is killer, by the way. So, yeah, that's Neartias by Chevelle. Definitely good. Now, next up is the acoustic album from Demon Hunter. It is Songs of Death and Resurrection, acoustic translations. You know, acoustic albums don't usually have a lot of replay value, but they're still okay, but they just don't have a lot of replay value, even though with what this album does, it's still good. And some of the best ones on this are Blood and the Tears and Loneliness, surprisingly, because Peace has not aged well, but Loneliness, the version of that song that they did on was, I remember that being good, and Deteriorate was good as well. So, yeah, this is Songs of Death and Resurrection by the band Demon Hunter. Now, we get to an album I just got yesterday, and it is the self-titled album from Era. Definitely good. Will be in my top 30, top 20 when the year is over. Definitely some good, decent enough stuff on here. Snowblood and Gungrave, those two are good. Scorpion Hymn, Lunar Halo, Shadow Autonomous. Yeah, those are the best songs on this album. I think I prefer Neon over this, but this is still very good, and this could be a signature album for Era. Like, still good. It's still good enough to be considered as such for them. So that is Era with their self-titled album, their fifth album ever. Next up, we have The Bitter Truth by Evanescence, and this is the Target version that has Cruel Summer and The Chain. Those two songs on here. That's what the back of it looks like. Definitely some decent stuff. Blind Belief. I mean, Blind Belief is a very good song. But you also have Better Without You, I think Feeding the Dark, and yeah, right, those songs are good. I mean, this album hasn't aged great, but those three songs I mentioned, they're pretty good. Definitely. And Far From Heaven too, the the more like orchestral track, the softest song in the album. And I know a lot of people bitch about the production and all that stuff, but it's not all that bad. To be honest with you, it's not the worst production. I mean, it's not like super polished or anything, but I mean, whatever, right? So that's Evanescence with The Bitter Truth. Long awaited. Next up is actually the first album that I got this year, and it was also the first one that I got. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but anyway, Medicine at Midnight by Foo Fighters. Definitely not one of their best, but still pretty good enough. Not an album I revisit all that much, but it's still good. It's still Foo Fighters. I mean, it's Foo Fighters being Foo Fighters, basically, this album. Making a Fire, Waiting on a War, No Son of Mine, Love Dies Young. Those four are good. Shame, Shame, I actually kind of liked a little bit, even though a lot of people didn't like that song. And yeah, this is a pretty good album, all in all. Probably won't be in my best of the year, but it's still good. Medicine at Midnight. And before we get to C's, I also have the vinyl that was sold at Target. It's this, and it has an alternate album artwork and stuff, alternate all that stuff. That's what this looks like. So that's Foo Fighters with Medicine at Midnight. All right. Next up, Frost, Day and Age. This is a 2-disc set with instrumentals, and this is my first album from Frost, and you pretty much know everything else. Definitely some good stuff on here, like Terrestrial. That song's pretty good. Island Life, Skywards, Kill the Orchestra, and Repeat to Fade. The second half of this album kills it, honestly. Definitely very good. They're like kind of like 80s new wave progressive rock stuff like Genesis or stuff like that. Like definitely give this a try. Frost Day and Age. It's definitely something different for this year, and it's good at what it does, like in terms of progressive rock. So that's Frost with Day and Age. Next up is another one of my favorite albums this year. Is Fortitude by the band Gojira. Definitely excited to have this in my collection. And there's no other way around it. This is easily one of the best of this year. You got great songs, Born for One Thing, Amazonia, Another World, Newfound, The Chant, Grind. Like, there's so many great songs on here. Like, definitely. Like, even some of the songs that aren't amazing in any way, like Sphinx, and even like The Trails. The Trails is actually really good, but like, this is definitely a step up from Magma, which I already thought was really good. L'Enfant Sauvage is my favorite Gojira album next to From Mars is Serious. And Fortitude, this is a very good album in my opinion. Very good. Easily will be in the top 10 when my year end list comes later on this year. So stay tuned for that. Next up, we have Ghost Iris with Comatose. Skillet made an album named Comatose, and now Ghost Iris made an album named Comatose. Although I don't know how rare that is or not, I don't know. But anyway, this album is pretty good. Got me sold on Ghost Iris once and for all, even though like there is some repetition in the lyrics and all that, but it's still pretty good for what it is. Paper Tiger, that's a good song. Coda, Ebb and Flow, and Power Schism. Those 4 tracks are definitely worth checking out. And also tracks like Desert Dread and Cult. Those are pretty good as well. Good progressive metalcore from Denmark. If you want some of that stuff, definitely give Ghost Iris a chance because they might have you surprised. That's Comatose by Ghost Iris. Next up, we have Greta Van Fleet with the Battle at Garden's Gate. I forgot the album title for some reason, but yeah, this is a pretty good album as well. Again, probably won't make my top 30 list, but it's fine. There's more of a Rush influence on this than a Led Zeppelin influence, even though the Led Zeppelin influence is still there. Kind of Rush sounding. The front man of this band kind of channels some of that but like there's some good songs. Heat Above, Stardust Chords is the one I remember a lot. Strip the Light Fantastic is another good one. Age of Machine, definitely some good stuff on Greta Van Fleet's second studio album. I know Greta Van Fleet isn't a band that's like beloved or anything, and they get some hate from people, but whatever, right? I mean, it's an older style of music being brought back into modern style, and that's what I think Greta Van Fleet is pretty good at. So, The Battle at Garden's Gate by the band Greta Van Fleet. Next up, we have a definite contender for one of my favorite albums of the year, Greatest Mistake of My Life by Holding Absence. And this could be my favorite album of this year. The raw emotion and stuff that it's in this album, and it's like it's so like emotional, and it's like it flows as a complete album. And yeah, this is actually a slipcover, believe it or not, but probably know all about that. Highlights: Curse Me With Your Kiss, Afterlife, In Circles, No More Roses, Die Alone in Your Lover's Arms, Morning Song, and there's the bonus track that's on the CD version, and Apology Note, which I haven't heard. I should definitely get around to hearing that sometime because, judging by the fact that I love this album so much, I should probably give it a shot. Give an Apology Note a listen. So, yeah, Greatest Mistake of My Life by Holding Absence. Thumbs up. Definitely can't go wrong with this. Could be my favorite album of the year, and when we hit December, it could be the album of the year. So, again, stay tuned. Next up, we have another album I bought. Another album that I bought recently, that I received actually. Light the Torch, You Will Be the Death of Me. And like I said, it's not their best. It's okay at best, but it's still passable. It's definitely passable still. I mean, even though I was kind of disappointed because of the lack of heavy songs and the more omnipresence of radio friendly songs on here. But I mean, like, that's whatever, right? Come Back to the Quicksand. That's a good song on here. Become the Martyr, Death of Me, which is the semi-title track. End of the World, even Wilting in the Light, the first single, is actually pretty good. So those are just 4 good songs on here. I mean, again, it isn't their best. Revival totally nails this album, in my opinion, but this is still pretty good. So You Will Be the Death of Me by Light the Torch, the Howard Jones side project after he left Killswitch Engage, and it was originally called The Devil You Know, and eventually it became Light the Torch. So we have 4 albums left. Next up, we have Pop Evil, Versatile. Definitely a solid album. Again, not great or anything like that, but definitely passable, in my opinion. And because there's no track listing on the back, I'm having a little bit of trouble remembering the songs. But I do, unless I have it right in front of me, I can't really see remember the tracks, especially if it's a mediocre album like this. But like Let the Chaos Begin, Set Me Free, and The Worst in Me, I think it's called. Those songs are pretty good. And I return to that Worst in Me song a lot. So, Pop Evil, they're kind of a generic hard rock band, but they're good at what they do, I guess. So, that's Pop Evil with Versatile. That's the new album. It's a 2-disc set. It has a number 1 hits EP on it. So that's interesting. And here's another one. Here's another album that I got this year. It's No Regeneration by Rise Against. Definitely a good album from the punk band. Yeah, that's good. Here's the track listing. The Numbers is a good song. The title track's good. Broken Dreams Incorporated, Monarch, Sooner or Later. Even Rules of Play, I think, is good. So, definitely good. I think this is better than the Foo Fighters album and the Greta Van Fleet album. But I don't know if this will be top 10 or top 20. Probably top 30, if I were to guess, because I'm assuming there's going to be more that comes out that's great. So that's No Regeneration by Rise Against. Next up, we have another album that's kind of mediocre, in my opinion. It's Royal Blood's Typhoons. And like I said, I just think this album is okay. Not great, but okay. The two songs that definitely make this album worth listening to are Trouble's Coming and Boilermaker. Boilermaker. Those two songs are good. But also, if you want Oblivion and Either You Want It, those two songs are good. Don't listen to Mad Visions because that song isn't very good. And don't listen to All We Have Is Now because that song feels incomplete as heck. But besides that, this is okay. It's okay. If you like Royal Blood, you'll probably like it. If you like what they're trying to do with this, you'll probably like it. So that's Typhoons by Royal Blood. And finally, we have Bulla with Witness. And this is another contender for top 5 in my year end list. Definitely an amazing album. Got songs like Straight Lines, Head Mounted Sideways, 24 Light Years, Napalm, Stone Leader Falling Down, and Inside Your Fur. Napalm is my favorite song of this year. And I did do a cover of it on my Scamp the Wolf's Music Endeavors channel. So if you want to check that out, definitely. I mean, it's not great or anything, but my music covering and music making channel is just for fun. But if anything, you should definitely give Vola's album a chance if you like that style of music. So that's pretty much it for this. I could do one for 2020 and 2019 and 2018 and so on and so forth, but I'm not promising anything. But more than likely, it will probably come to fruition. So that's all for this stream. Just wanted to put some content up on the channel. Let me know what you think of these albums down in the comment section down below. This is Scamp the Wolf signing out. Take care.